All right, folks, welcome back. I'm excited to be able to have Paul Merriman back on the show to talk about his new book. It's called We're Talking Millions, 12 Ways to Supercharge Your Retirement. Paul, welcome back to Sound Retirement Radio.
Boy, it's great to be back. And by the way, they added a word to that title. It's 12 simple ways. I even understand it. So it's, and by golly, if it isn't easy, it's not going to get done in this business.
Oh, man, there's so much truth to that. It's, so how's that saying go? It's simple, but it's not easy. And that it's simple enough to understand, but unfortunately, for some reason, a lot of people don't end up following the advice. So if it was easy, I guess everybody would do it.
To me, it's kind of like dieting. Here I am, 77 years old, smart as a whip for minutes on end. And I've been on a diet since the 5th grade. I own a huge library of diet books, and I've lost over 4,000 pounds in my life. And yet, how simple is dieting? And how smart am I? Well, not smart enough to overcome the simplicity of a real good diet. And that's the same thing about investing, I fear.
Well, I loved this book. I loved the focus and the emphasis on really wanting to get into young people's minds and get them investing early. After I read it, you gave me an early pre-release copy to read through before our interview today. And after I read it, I thought, boy, this would be so good if I could have you speak at my kids' school. I've got a high schooler and a middle schooler, and start to educate them about some of these powerful concepts that are so, I take for granted sometimes. I think, man, this is simple stuff. But when you sit down to talk, especially to kids about some of these ideas, it's brand new to them and it's exciting. And so I'm grateful that you and I can talk about this today and hopefully get the word out. And what I'm hoping is a lot of the people we serve are 55 plus, but as they're thinking about gifts for their kids and grandkids this holiday season, I'm hoping they consider your book as a stocking stuffer. But before I get into talking to you about your book, Paul, I want to ask you a couple other questions just about life, because at 77, one of the things you have is wisdom. And that's something that's you can't really buy that. You gotta do the time. But the first one I have for you is, what are you learning as we live through this global pandemic caused by COVID? What, both personally and professionally, what are some of the things that you think are changing the way that you operate, both personally and professionally?
Well, personally, it has had an amazing impact on my life.
Oh,
I can't believe I committed to flying all over the country, paying my own airline. My foundation pays my airline tickets, and staying in second-rate hotels and eating hotel food, not helping my diet. And I did it because I was trying to help people, and they invited me, so I said, I'll come. Now I think about, you mentioned that your children, middle-aged, in high school, are interested in me coming and talking to them. I don't care where they are. I'm ready to talk.
awesome.
And that has been an absolute life changer for me. I may never see another airport as long as I live. But the other side of it, of course, is that I think of the people who did everything right about saving and did everything right about working hard at the job and doing the right thing for the boss. And now this comes along. And this is one of the realities of investing, unfortunately. I've been around it, like you say, over 50 years, almost 55 years. And things happen that are just financially earth-shattering. October 19th, 1987. It happened in one day. We lost over 20% of the value of our whole portfolios in one day. What were we to think if we weren't grounded in the basics of long-term investing and had the ability to stay the course? We would have jumped ship very likely. And then where would we be?
Mm-hmm.
And these young people are being tested again. I really do think that they already were showing tendencies of not being willing to trust the stock market because they saw 2000 through 2002 and 2007 through 2009. They may not have seen it in their own pocket, but they saw their parents respond to it. And none of those equities for me. I certainly don't want any of those in my portfolio. They hurt people. And yet, as you know, one of those 12 things that I want people to lean into is I want them to lean into equities, because that is where their financial future is in the money they're investing for the long term. We got a lot of people to teach, and it's going to be an uphill battle. And by the way, and then I'll shut up. You opened the show talking about getting into young people's minds. I don't know if you've seen this movie called something social media or The Social Media.
Oh, on Netflix.
On Netflix. It's about people getting into your mind and my mind and our children and our grandchildren's mind.
Yes.
And they are so clever. They are so practiced and expert at this. And yet we're trying to get some young person, oh, please say, put a few dollars aside. And they don't want you to put money aside. They want you to put money in their pocket. And if we don't get these kids grounded educationally, it's going to be too easy to pick their pocket.
Boy, that is so good. I remember years ago learning about some of the research and the psychologists, even with Sesame Street or that show Blue's Clues, hearing about the work that was being done to keep kids' attention. It wasn't just a fun show. It was very intentional about how they captured kids' attention. And of course, that same data that was collected all those years ago is being used now to capture our minds, capture our thinking. And yeah, what a powerful tool that is. That's why I love that verse so much. It says, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be renewed by be transformed by the renewing of your mind." I just love that so much. I want to get into your book, but a couple other important questions I have for you before we talk about these 12 things. Each of them potentially worth $1 million. The second question I have is, as you think back over your life, what are some of the things you're most proud of? And if you could go back and do it again, what are some things you think you might do different or prioritize differently?
That's hard, Jason, because there is no risk in the past. This is an important investment concept. We actually know what we should have done. We should have taken what money we had in 1986 and put it into Microsoft. End of story. Okay. So that's what we see when we look back. And I remember when I was an investment advisor, now retired for, 8 years, I used to sit with couples, and one would remind the other one, remember when I told you to buy Microsoft? They have completely forgotten the ones that they recommended that didn't work. But boy, do they remember the ones that did work, and they didn't get to participate. So as I look back, I probably should have gone on to graduate school. And I had lots of people from the university where I was going to school encouraging me to go on. Oh, no, I want to get to work. I want to start making money. And I think I focused too much on making money too early. And that actually kept me from getting some really good experience. But the fact is, all you have to change is one path, one day, and the rest of your life is changed. And now I talk to young people about how random this whole process is and why it's important to be nice to everybody you meet along the way, even when you have to kind of grin and bear it because they're so different from you and they're not who you want to be, but they oftentimes have something to offer. And so when I look back, it's easy to see the mistakes I made that cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars if we want to talk about investing, like the first so-called investment I made. I speculated, I didn't invest. The bad news is I doubled my money in a very short period of time. The good news is they took it all back from me on the next trade. Oh. I was broke at and that was my first experience